Good day, everyone. My name's Nichols, and welcome to the show. Today, I'm going to be talking about the idea of mindfulness punctuating experience. As Sam Harris would probably say in his Waking Up app, which I highly recommend, the whole point about meditation is not that you find some grand nirvana all the time. It's just that in the ordinary waking experience, that waking experience is punctuated by moments of awareness. I see that myself as kind of like, sometimes it feels like I'm kind of waking up from like you're in that half asleep kind of slumber, and you wake up suddenly like, oh, okay, that I'm not here, I'm not fighting demons in a castle or something, I'm actually just trying to get to sleep. Or the other way I look at it sometimes, it's like coming up for air, like you're caught in a wave and you're not coming up, and suddenly bang, you're awake, you're outside the water, you can look around and understand the water. It's like almost lifting your head up. Regardless of the analogy that you use, you should find, if you follow some sort of meditation app for a longer period of time, you should begin to understand and see what I'm talking about yourself. Now, the way I look at this is these are moments when we kind of can step back, or maybe the word is expand, but you can basically step out of the moment-to-moment experience and realize and see our thoughts, emotions, the things that we kind of were engaged in and fully part of. See them impartially, see them from a different perspective, from a wider perspective. Now, the reason why this is so useful is it allows us to manipulate our mind in ways that are very difficult to do just through simple action. For instance, suppose even if you're the happiest you can be in a certain situation, you've done everything you can, you've got the greatest job, you've just had a raise, everything's absolutely fine, you're in the company of people that you love. At any point, an aversive thought can arise. In fact, I find it arises often in those moments of peace, in those moments of comfort, because that nagging thought's always there. And you always know that this is just a fleeting experience. There's always that realization. Now, there are ways of dealing with this, but essentially the way I look at that is that, in principle, is an aversive thought. It's a thought that's reasonable to have. But the question is do you really want to engage with it at that time when you're in with people that you love, having this very engaging experience that you really want to pay attention to? And I would argue that no, that's not the time to really dwell on those thoughts. So you have these options when these thoughts arise, in my opinion. One option is to see them, and I've heard it described as like a bus coming and going, but see those thoughts as fleeting, because they are fleeting, and you understand that thoughts and desires and even events, lives, everything is fleeting and it comes and goes. And it's possible to watch them come and go without judgment. Again, another key thing, because it's easy to have a negative thought about yourself or about doing something negative, and you're like, oh man, I must be a bad person, I must not be committed, I must be lazy, I must be bad because I had this thought about this thing that's not in line with the path I need to travel. That's fine. The thought is a thought. It arises, and you can't control the arising of thought. It just will happen. So let it come and go without judgment. Just be like, yep, that's a thought coming and going. That's fine. And that's what you can do in one case. In a separate case, if you're in the situation where you actually want to engage with that thought, then you can do that. And the key is really just to do it consciously, though. You're making that choice. This is the thought that I'm going to engage in. So the thought comes, and then really believe. So suppose it's something like, I wonder what I would do if I got really sick. Okay, if you want to engage in that, sit down, be mindful about it, close your eyes, and imagine what would it be like to be sick. What would you actually do? How would you deal with that problem? How would you solve that problem? And maybe write it down in your diary, so that you're actually fully being there, fully be there, fully experience that in the present, as if that were the present moment. So mindfully engaging in the thoughts. That's the option. The third one, which is probably more common at work, is write the thought down, calendarize it, basically acknowledge it. Oh, that's actually a really interesting point. Maybe I should be, say, doing this training, looking at this career opportunity, maybe calling up this ex-girlfriend. Probably not, but maybe. Or at least consider that. So put it aside at a later date to consider that problem and reflect on it. And again, so that brings you back into the present moment, because you've put that aside, you've calendarized it, you've written it in your diary, you've done whatever it is you need to do to acknowledge the thought and put it aside and put it in a place where you can consider it in a more pragmatic way when you had the time and space to actually deal with it properly. I always think about the way I kind of look at it with thoughts, and I think it's something that you need to do on a daily basis, keeping a diary and setting aside a little bit of time towards the end of the day to have that moment of reflection. I basically feel like thoughts, if you don't deal with them on your grounds, they'll deal with you on their terms. So Jocko might say you want to get the high ground on your thoughts. You want to deal with them in your position of strength when it makes sense to do so, when you're undistracted. That's when you want to deal with the thoughts. You don't want them to deal with you at the moment of their choosing. Now, look, that's part of it. But there's something a little bit more than that. There's this idea that there's a fleetingness of everything of life. And that's a good, it is the way of things. And you can see that as a positive or a negative. The great thing about that is everything is cherished. Everything is beautiful. Everything is, it's filled with something that's so beautiful, because it really is the last time you'll have this experience, the only time you have the experience in a certain way. Although it is not clear to me whether or not this is experience I've had an infinite number of times before, but I digress. In this lifetime, in this life, it is just this one moment that you have. And there's a meditation that Sam Harris in his Waking Up app talked about of the last time. And it's such a powerful stoic or thing to do, is you realize there is a last time you'll pick up your child, a last time you'll wake up and go to work, a last time you'll brush your teeth. Everything, if you get into this meditative state, you'll realize everything has this incredible sacredness and melancholy kind of aspect to it. It's a very powerful meditation. I don't do it very often because I find it so powerful, and obviously it's very moving, and it feels very almost melancholy for me a lot of the time. But I think it is a powerful thing to reflect on at times, that there will be a last time you do everything, even the things you don't really like doing, even the going to work or the housework, whatever it is you don't like doing. There'll still be a last time that you'll see a person that you don't really like very much. There'll still be a last time you'll ever talk to them. And that makes that moment of conversation incredibly beautiful. Even if otherwise you wouldn't really be enjoying that, it might be something you don't get on with all. But knowing that's the last time you'll ever see them and talk to them adds this kind of very beautiful aspect to it, and it's really important. And again, it's reflection on the fact that everything is fleeting. Thoughts will rise and fall in your mind. Your life will come and go. There is just, that's the way of a mortal life. Experiences will rise and fall. Everything is fleeting. And so don't try and hang on to the thoughts, especially when you don't need to. Accept and understand and take advantage of the fact that thoughts and emotions rise and fall. All right, I think that's it. Thanks very much for joining me. It's great to have you on board, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.